Today, I wish to begin with round 17. The title of today's lecture is The Various Supernatural Phenomena and the Spiritual Science. I'd like to continue to tell about spiritual science first. I'll explain the supernatural phenomena of the direct dialogue, spiritual diagnosis, spiritual photo, spiritual healing, etc. Though the spiritual science is queer as well as fantastic, it is a sort of science. The first title is The Direct Voice. A ghost or an astral body of a dead person speaks in the air personally. There are three sources of this phenomenon. First, a materialized spirit speaks directly with his mouth, and we have already seen the example of Kitty King. Second, even though the speaker is not visible to us, the spirit speaks with a megaphone or a loudspeaker. Third, a ghost speaks in the air, simply in the air. All of these phenomena can be said to be very mysterious and transcendent scientific to us. Next, wax gloves and fingerprint. Wax gloves shows us the materialization phenomenon most vividly, and it is the undeniable proof of the fact that a dead person's spirit or soul is alive. The experiment was performed by the English medium Evelyn for the first time in 1876, long time ago. In the year 1920, Dr. Jere of France and the Polish banker Kurski tried to have experiments on this phenomenon. The main point of this experiment is that a medium calls a ghost and let him or her put his hand in paraffin in a vessel and watches the change of the shape of the paraffin. While the hand of the ghost is in the paraffin, the surface of it swells up and then let the hand disappear. Then the next procedure is to spill the water of plaster into the place of the ghost's hand and let the plaster be coagulated. Then the next step is to pour some hot water into the vessel, and we can see the shape of the ghost's hand. At this time, the paraffin melts away and the plaster remains. Therefore, we can see the shape of the ghost's hand. If the hand belongs to a living person, the shape of the paraffin will be broken inevitably as soon as he makes his hand retreat from the paraffin. And therefore, those who deny the existence of the spirit do not say any negative opinion on this phenomenon. A ghost's fingerprint is the exact shape of the ghost's palm. And it is said that the ghost's fingerprint has just the same shape of its ex-life's fingerprint. Next, spiritual photo. In a photo, there appears a person who is related with the landscape or the persons in it. And we say that it is a phenomenon of the spiritual photo. Usually a spirit of a dead person appears in a photo, and it is a matter of course that the appearance of the spirit is just the same as that of the living person before his or her death. The principle of this phenomenon has not been revealed, but this phenomenon has been reported for nearly 100 years. A photo in mind is made when a photographer thinks of a person or a landscape, and what he thinks is in that photograph. This is the phenomenon of the psychokinetic photo-taking skill. This picture was taken by Mr. Kogawa and Yamamoto of Japan in England in 1930. Over these two persons, we can see the picture of a ghost who is the sister of Yamamoto. At the time when this picture was taken, she is said to have been in Korea. In general, a spiritual photo shows a dead person's ghost, but in this picture, a living person is seen, and it is a quite extraordinary case. Where we can see this picture in the book UFO and Psychic Science, UFO와 정신과학 in Korean, page 217. A ghost, we can see a ghost which appeared in a wood of Austria, page 217 of the same book, UFO와 정신과학, the same book, 217, we can see it. In general, a ghost appears at dark night, but in this picture, we can see somewhat distinct silhouette, and it is not completely dark around the person. It is a particular picture too. Then, this is the shape of a ghost which is in a car. We can see this ghost in the book. Spiritual Science. This is a spiritual science. 심령과학. Page 26, written by Gung Tae Koong of Japan. And the next photo. This is Abraham Lincoln's spiritual photo. William Mimler, an American spiritual photo artist, took this picture at the end of 1865, a long time ago. Lincoln, who died in April of that year, stands behind her, putting his hands on her shoulders. It is said that Abraham Lincoln was deeply interested in the spiritual phenomena and took part in the meetings of a spiritual research group. We can see this picture in the book Therapy Method of the Pre-Life, 전생요법, Therapy Method of the Pre-Life, okay. Written by An Dong-min in 1994. And next, spiritual healing. It is the phenomenon of healing disease or decreasing ache through the spiritual treatment. First, let's think of the spiritual diagnosis. It means the diagnosis of a patient by means of the clairvoyance, clairaudience, or spiritual intuition. A believer and right person who does spiritual treatment recommends that the patient should consult a doctor, medical doctor, when he thinks that the medical treatment is good. Therefore, usually this spiritual treatment is done when the patient has nearly incurable disease or when it is quite hard to heal the disease. Next, expulsion of a spirit. When a patient finds no way to cure his disease, though he meets lots of ultramodern methods of treatment, it is a general trend to think that a dead person's spirit or ghost entered the patient. In this case, the spirit of the dead person should be driven out from the patient. And there are several methods. First, a female shaman performs a spiritual dance with shouting, but it seems that it has not any satisfying result. The reason is that the shaman dance is a sort of the threatening activity. Namely, it is an activity of conferring horror or threat upon the low-level obsessing ghost. Second, the religious leaders like pastors, fathers, or Buddhist monks drive out the obsessing ghost with their prayer And it seems that this method has a considerable effect. The problem of this method is that the driven out ghost does not usually go to the afterworld, and when it is trained in a particular area, it goes into the former obsessed person again. Very great problem. Third, a spiritual competent person who can speak with a dead person's soul directly speaks with a dead person's ghost or soul and suggests to the ghost that it had better go to the afterworld, explaining the universal law of this world and the afterworld. This is the most rational and best method, and the most excellent person who had this sort of method was late Mr. An Dong-min of Korea. As far as I know, he was the best spirit competent person in all of the world, and nearly all parts of his books were related with the record of discarding ghosts obsessing other persons and healing disease with relation to the obsession. Therefore, his books can be said to be the clinical record of scanning the obsessing ghosts. Let's watch the procedure of his driving ghosts out and healing disease. When a patient comes to him, the first work was the diagnosis as a matter of course. When he ascertained the cause of the disease to be that of the obsession of a ghost, he called the guardian spirit of the patient, the guardian spirit of the obsessing ghost, which depended upon the patient, and also the guardian spirit of Mr. An Dong-min himself. He talked about the patient's disease with these three guardian spirits, persuaded the obsessing ghost to go to the afterworld, explaining the relationship of this world with the afterworld. He said that when a ghost goes into another person, this activity makes a sort of sin because the obsessed person feels a loss of pain, and at last the ghost fully understood the whole situation. Then Mr. An called the envoy spirit residing in the afterworld, and the envoy accompanied the ghost to the afterworld. How complicated the whole procedure is. As soon as the ghost goes out of the patient, the disease disappears instantly, and so it can be called the miraculous treatment. However, if we understand the whole procedure of the treatment, we know that it is not a miraculous one, but it is a scientific curing method driving a soul out of the patient's body. However, as Mr. An has gone to the afterworld for a long journey, it is impossible to meet him now. The excellent soul-competent person who was not known to the Korean people well is not in Korea now. The representative books of his writing are Driving Souls Out, it is 재령 in Korean, 재령. 그 다음에 Diagnosis of the Obsessed Spirit, it is 심령진단 in Korean, 심령진단. And Spiritual Healing is 심령치료 in Korean, 심령치료. And I can show you your pre-life to you. I can show your pre-life to you. It is 전생을 보아줍니다. I can show your pre-life to you. These sorts of books were written by Mr. An Dong-min.